Thank you for your precious time under this tight schedule.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much.
As a first distinguished fellow, what kind of research area would you like to focus on with a collaboration with the JICA Institute?
I think one fundamental issue that ASEAN and Japan, at least JICA has a very, very big responsibility worldwide, but I think my interest would be ASEAN and Japan in the area of development cooperation, area of human resource development, technical. I think we need to look at some new initiatives, new modalities, because the landscape of ASEAN has changed, because the world has opened up, because there are new factors and new elements and new technologies coming in, and Southeast Asia or ASEAN is now emerging middle class. So we need to look at some of the ways in which we have been doing. Is it just development assistance? Is it just infrastructure? Or is it a transfer of certain ideas, certain views, certain norms that I believe Japan has to contribute? So I think shifting from issues like infrastructure, preparing for economic cooperation or economic interaction, economic relations between Japan and countries of Southeast Asia, to something that would be more human, social, cultural, to make sure that there is also an emphasis on human progress, human development, human security. So I would like to look into ways and resources. When I say resources, it's not financial resources, but intellectual, academic, or cultural resources that Japan possesses, that could be shared, could be transferred to a group of countries in Southeast Asia, in ASEAN. I think these are important things. How do you make progress more balanced? How do you make sure that development is equitable, development is inclusive? Japan certainly has accomplished that. That is, the gap between the rich and the poor is not that big. There's a distribution of wealth, quite effective. But in Southeast Asia, when Japan decided to go in and invest, Japanese companies had to identify partners. And the partners are usually well-established families in those countries in Southeast Asia. So the benefit of the growth and development would pretty much be kept among a small group of people, families, very small. The rest of the country are not getting that much. So there's a big gap. The more we develop, the bigger the gap, and that is not healthy. So I think we need to know how Japan did it, and we need to look at the intellectual resources, human resources that could do this kind of thing, sharing this kind of experience with countries like ASEAN, like Southeast Asia. And again, if we can be successful on this, then this also can be shared with the rest of the world, where JICA is also active in Africa, in South Asia, as far as Latin America. Wherever JICA is active, I think there's a need to look into this new challenge and new dimension. Equity, inclusivity, sharing, and making sure that the society is not too widely separated among those who benefit from development and those who are only participating in development as labor, as people who contribute to development but not getting the return for the development, at least in a way that they should. Yeah.
Relating to this first question, you have rich experience in development agenda as well as political issues between ASEAN nations, Japan, and also in East Asia in general. Could you give us just some insight on the future of the collaboration between ASEAN nations, Japan, of East Asia, in Asia whole region?
Well, I think the issue of creating a sense of community. In ASEAN, we work hard on that, trying to create a sense of belonging. The 10 countries belong to a geographical region, but also committed to a common future. We put a lot of historical differences aside, and we look into the future. We are motivated by that vision of the future. And I think East Asia as a whole, including ASEAN and Japan and your neighbors, we will have to think about an East Asia community in whatever shape and form that would somehow be a regional mechanism for growth, for development, for exchange, for sharing. I think we have to think about that, because this is a continent or a region that is very diverse but very rich culturally, in terms of economic diversity, in terms of resources, in terms of the number of people. We are very, very large. Somehow we have to have some common understanding of where we are going. Where is our common future? How do we cooperate? How do we work together? So I think there is a need to create that sense of identity, sense of community, sense of belonging to the region. Whether we like it or not, we have become more important to the world as a region than 10 years ago, than 20 years ago, because we seem to be managing our own affairs quite well. We have differences and we have to manage those, but economic growth, science, technology seem to be going well compared to the rest of the world. The US is under pressure. Europe will take some time to put their acts together. We have been expected to be a new region of growth, a new engine of growth that would pull the rest of the global community from the crisis. Now, that's a heavy responsibility. So, a sense of community among ourselves is important, which would require trust, mutual trust, and mutual confidence. That we have to work on. It's not going to come automatically. It will only come when we have to work together and contribute into this creation of a common identity and a vision of the future that we all feel inspired by.